Strength training for obstacle athletes. This has been my passion for the past 7 years. And, I recently ran a poll that I was so thrilled to see the result is. The question was, what's the number one thing that if you learned how to do it would help you improve in your sport? And the answer was strength training. And so that tells me that the audience out there, obstacle athletes in general, know that they need strength training, but what it also tells me is they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. So I'll give you a little history of how I created the Warrior Performance Training program, specifically the strength training program. And essentially about 7 years ago, I got into ninja training and I noticed a lot of amazing athletes, parkour athletes, that had some great abilities, but I saw functional movement deficiencies, poor control with hips, ankles, knees, leading to ACL tears. Some of them had good power, but not enough power to do certain moves. I also saw guys that were into obstacle training, but were really more weight training athletes, and they didn't have the right conditioning and endurance. And I just saw a great opportunity for me to use my experience. Just a little background on me. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for the past 25 years. I've developed programs for every type of athlete at every possible level, working with college athletes and even professional athletes over the past 25 years. It is my career to have done this. I have not had any other job. I went to college for an undergraduate degree in exercise science, got my master's in exercise science, and then started practicing in personal training and sports and conditioning. I just happened to have refined that into obstacle training over the last 7 years. My first program back in 2016 was called Build a Better Ninja. And so what we looked at doing was taking skills training for, say, the upper body and matching that in a workout with lower body strength and conditioning work. And then the next workout, we would reverse that and do skills training for the lower body paired with upper body strength and conditioning work. That program worked well. It helped to establish a good solid foundation. I must give credit to one of my good friends from college who was also in the same exercise program as me, and he told me about a program from this Russian world-renowned strength coach, Pavel. I cannot remember how to pronounce his last name, but he created a program that it's a strength training program that creates this amazing result with your strength, and it's progressions that happen over time. The program is called 40 Days of Strength if you want to look it up, and I've refined that for obstacle training athletes. You all benefit from my failures, and what I've learned is that if you're over 30 years old, or in my case over 40 years old, or if you have some injuries that you're dealing with, you really have to watch the volume of training that you apply, because if you engage in too high a volume of training, and especially if you combine that with too intense a level of training without the appropriate recovery time, you're going to end up with injuries. And this is part of why Pavel created his program, was to create the right level of stimulus, the right frequency of stimulus, to create great results without taking you over the top. Many people overtrain and end up injured. Many people undertrain. Many people don't know how to train. So I've taken his philosophies. I've then decided on what are the best exercises to create power and strength for the sports of ninja and OCR racing. And if we think about that, we absolutely need to work on pulling power, but most ninjas tend to have too much pulling strength and actually not a push. So we work on vertical and horizontal push. We work with things for lower body strength and power like deadlifts and squats. We absolutely must do some strongman moves, which are going to enhance total body strength as well as grip strength. And so I've packaged that together into a program. Now, you cannot necessarily do this program year-round. You need to cycle it with some other things. So we have competition prep programs. such as calisthenics training and specific Tabata regimens that really enhance power and conditioning for upcoming competitions. We have deloading weeks that after you go through, say, anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks of heavy strength and conditioning in your off season, you want to include deloading weeks. And I've found that one of the most helpful things to deload is stabilization training. And this is something that people should do all the time anyway, because stabilization training helps enhance your ability to perform on an obstacle course, especially with lower body balance type obstacles. However, if we're doing stabilization training for the upper body, one such example would be, let's say, a bottoms up kettlebell overhead press. You're pressing that kettlebell overhead. Now we're working on grip strength, wrist stability, elbow and shoulder stability. Your core is engaging. If you do this while standing on one leg, your entire body is working to stabilize that load. You certainly will not be able to press a kettlebell upside down overhead. You won't be able to use as heavy as a weight as if you were using a straight up dumbbell. However, your neuromuscular system will actually be challenged at just as high of an intensity. So you're still working in a 5-rep range, but it tends to be with about half the weight, sometimes even less than that. And you will feel totally exhausted from using that weight. So your neuromuscular load stays high, but your joints get a recovery period. And that is a huge part of what I've incorporated into this program. And so there's a specific regimen, depending on where you are in your training cycle for the year, for you to take yourself through this. It's a 12-week program that has endless rotations that you can basically use forever in conjunction with all of your skills training and your conditioning work. And that is what really is the package here for the Warrior Performance Training Program. So just wanted to give you a little bit of information there, because I feel that everyone that's in sports, obstacle sports in particular, needs to be doing more strength training. And there's a quick summary. If you want to find out some more information about it, there's some information in this video if you look below, and you can click on one of the links to find out more about the actual program.